And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway. And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway. And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway. And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway. And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway. And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway. And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway. And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway. And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway. And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway. And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway. And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway.
Now we get to hear more from her, the actual content from her. Please put your hands together for Silibaziso Chizwina from ZIDA. Also joining us is from the Mutapa Investment Fund, all right? And this is Mr. Simba Chinyemba. Please make your way up, Simba. Thank you. And last but in no means least, from the ZimBorders, right? From ZimBorders, we have the chairman, and this is Mr. Glynn Cohen. Please join us on the stage. Thank you. Perfect. All right. So to kickstart our session, we're going to hear from Silibaziso. I believe you have a presentation, so you can take the podium. I'll give you that, and also just some housekeeping with my panel, right? Just some house rules. I know you have your presentations, you have your submissions, but we'd like to also allow for our audience to interact a lot. What we've seen today, much more than yesterday, is a lot of audience engagement. I think over the couple of days, you have obviously jotted down your questions, you've got a sense and a feel of who's in the room, and you want your questions answered, or you want to be heard. So personally, I think for this session, we'd like to allow a lot more time for the Q&A. So we'll allow for our speakers and presentations to not exceed 10 minutes each, so that we can get enough time to have a conversation. All right. Thank you so much. Silibaziso, over to you. Are you okay there?
Good afternoon, everybody. To those that we met yesterday, great to have you back here again. I'm back in a slightly different, I guess I'm doing something slightly different, but still under the agency ZIDA. So my name is Silibaziso Chizwina, and I am responsible for investment promotion at ZIDA. But part of our role as an agency is to try and get as many investors as possible to partner the government, its ministries, departments, and agencies, and sub-government agencies such as municipal authorities and rural district council in developing infrastructure or services that serve the population of Zimbabwe. So part of what we do as an agency is to facilitate the process of public-private partnership development through a research and business development unit that is based at ZIDA, what was previously the joint venture units. So in about 6 or 7 minutes, Ruveneko, I will just run through this process so that I allow more questions to the panel than the focus being on just what we do at ZIDA. So as I said, my presentation focuses on what we do as an agency to drive the projects. I don't know whether the technical team has got that. The next slide. Okay, so the type of projects that we handle at ZIDA are solicited and unsolicited. The next slide will explain to you what exactly is involved in solicited and unsolicited projects. And so the mandate of the government is to provide certain infrastructure and services, but we're not always able to do it as a government or agencies. And so what we try and do is encourage the private sector to come on board and work with us over a duration of time to provide the service or that particular infrastructure. And these projects are very, very important because they make the life of the citizen better. And we get these projects from ministries, departments, and agencies, like we said, or municipal authorities. And our role really is to make sure that they align with our national development strategy, that they serve the purpose for economic development, that they're sustainable, and that they're environmentally not damaging or degrading. But most importantly, whenever I speak about the public-private partnership, is to try and make sure that we remember that there's a citizen sitting in a chair who is expecting this infrastructure or this service to serve a purpose. And then in terms of statistics, to date this year, we have reviewed 16 projects that we're currently working on. I think there's additional statistics as to how many we've actually done over the years. The types of public-private partnerships that we're talking about, if you go to the next slide, we have what you call solicited projects, which I think a lot of you may hear, where we go to tender. And the whole process, sorry, I have a technical team that seems to be running behind time. Ruveneko, it's not my fault. This is the process that you will find that will give you guidance as to how to enter into a solicited process. So this is where the government or the MDA puts out a tender for a specific service or infrastructure development. This will be shared with you, obviously, after this. But at the center of it all, which is what I always say, is that agency called ZIDA. So everything comes through us. Once the MDA has put it out and they've reviewed it and they're ready to go to run the process, they bring it back to us for a thorough analysis. So that's technical, that's financial, that's social, that's environmental. So we check all those issues and then we take it to a cabinet committee, which is chaired by the Ministry of Finance. And it sits the relevant ministries or departments that are affected or have some form of engagement in that particular process. That cabinet committee reviews the whole proposal coming from the MDA and our recommendations. Sometimes they send us back to the drawing table and we come back. There's a lot of fighting that goes on within our offices because we have to thoroughly analyze and give our recommendations. Once we're clean and clear about it, we take it back to the committee and the committee takes it to the full cabinet for consideration. Then there is an unsolicited process, which is the second aspect of it. This is where you as an investor or private sector player comes up with a unique way in which you think we can serve or provide infrastructure as a government. Now, once you have this idea, you can come and approach the relevant ministry, or you can come direct through ZIDA and say, this is what I'm proposing for you as a government of Zimbabwe to deliver a service or infrastructure, and this is what it's going to cost you, and this is why it's better. We look at it, and we analyze. So the relevant ministry then says, yeah, it looks like something unique. But it has to be unique. That is where the offering is for unsolicited. Because even if you come and we go through the entire process and we go through the whole bankability and feasibility analysis, as the government of Zimbabwe, we still have the right to say we're still taking it to public tender if we believe that it can be delivered at a better price. And that is the process of unsolicited. So that whole thing, again, at the center of it all sits ZIDA, which does the analysis and makes the relevant recommendations. And then just to highlight the sectoral opportunities on the next slide, this is where you as private sector players, or obviously our investors who've come in from the EU, can consider to take up space in. So mostly around the energy sector, we are supposed to provide power through the relevant agencies, so ZTDC, so that gap is there. So what are you looking to do? How would you provide or work with government to transmit the power, or to actually finance IPPs through the government system, or to actually generate the power on behalf of the government of Zimbabwe? Then there's also the issues to do with, in some spaces where the government is supposed to provide irrigation systems, you can work using infrastructure that the government has put in place. So for instance, the Tugwi Mukosi Dam, you can come up with the design of an irrigation system that will provide water for communities for the next 20 years, but you're working in collaboration with the government. If your proposal is unique and the government considers it viable, then we'll review it and send the relevant recommendations. Again, in housing, there is a backlog. There is an expectation that we, certain agencies, so for instance, the Ministry of National Housing provides housing for social and affordable housing. So because we can't or we don't have the relevant financing, if you come up with a model that works, we can then consider it. We're also looking for new construction technology as a government. That can be recommended to the municipal authorities, and then we can put it into our bylaws and make it easier for construction of houses, make it faster for the government to deliver. The next slide shows that the gap in infrastructure development is about 30 billion. So if you're into urban planning and new city development, there's that opportunity to partner the municipal authorities or the government straight at the highest level of spatial development. Wastewater and sewage reticulation and potable water supply. Again, a space where we are supposed to be providing the service, but currently maybe we do not have the relevant financing structures to do so. So as a private sector player, you can make the relevant or proposals to the government. I think the next slide is rail. Again, something that maybe Simba will speak to because some of this falls under Mutapa fund. But there's opportunities in health as well as opportunities in tourism. And this one, I think specifically, there is a project that we're looking at, which is in our prospectus on the Masua Special Economic Zone, where we're looking for a development company that can put in infrastructure worth close to $3 billion for this new development to come to life. All this information, if you're looking for it, can be found within our prospectus, which we are sharing with you on the next slide. If you QR code, you will find this relevant information about how you can partner the government of Zimbabwe to actually develop projects. So in a nutshell, a very complex process which you can follow through on that diagram and then try and make sense of it. If you can't make sense of it, my office, the office of our CEO, and about 6 or 7 people are there available to give you more information. If you take a walk just across the road, it's not across the road, 200 meters away is our office, and we're available to give you more information on how you can partner the government of Zimbabwe and develop public-private partnerships. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Silibaziso. Thank you. I think that was succinct, and as mentioned before, a lot of us are asking about the presentations. I've been reassured that they will be available on the swipe card platform for all the delegates, so that you can download them and have access to them and read them slowly. So Sili, thank you so much. If there are any questions regarding that presentation directed at ZIDA, please hold them, and we'll take all the questions at the end when we've heard all the presentations. But while you're there, Sili, if you don't mind me just asking, for example, in Rwanda, you can go and you can register your company, get a bank account, and that whole process takes a couple of hours to register with the RDB. We talked yesterday, and I think your boss also spoke yesterday, Tafadzo spoke yesterday, about how ZIDA would assist with the licensing and the whole process regarding your company working with ZIDA. How quickly is this process? You showed us a graph that basically explained the process between the PPP committee, between cabinet and ZIDA itself, and then of course the partners. How quickly is that process? Because Zimbabwe sometimes has just far too much red tape.
Thank you, Riveneko. So when you want to register a company in Zimbabwe and you do it through the process at ZIDA, we can help and facilitate and do that within 48 hours. And that's on a digital platform. We are connected to the company registry office, and we also have an officer from the company registrar's office. And then to actually get an investment license, if all your paperwork is in order after you're registered as a company in Zimbabwe, we can give you an investment license within 4 to 5 days. There are other processes that then we try and facilitate for you to get your bank accounts opened. As long as you now have all the relevant paperwork in place, we will work to make sure that that whole process is done. Our current motto is that we'll try and have you established and up and running within 90 days when you're in this country.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you for that. We'll come back to you with more questions, I think, from the audience. So on that note, if I could please ask Simba to come up for your presentation. Thank you so much. All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm quite glad to see that there are no protocols here, which I hate. So
you can just ride on the protocols and just say, all protocol observed.
And if I miss them, all the better. I think I'm waiting for my presentation as well, which will be put shortly.
Is that it?
No. Yeah, I'm not in charge of monetary policy, and I don't wish to be at this time. But in any case, even as it is coming, because I've heard that you will receive that presentation anyway, and it is quite wordy, so I'm not even going to say a lot of the things that are there, because I know a lot of people in here are literate and can read, so you can read for yourself. But what I thought I would do is just talk a little bit about who Mutapa Investment Fund is. The reason we keep doing that is because as much as maybe half the country now knows, there's still another half of the country that doesn't know who we are and what we do. If my presentation had been up, you would have seen that the first page was a disclaimer. We are a fund, so I have to tell you that any information that I provide does not constitute an offer to sell or a solicitation of an offer to buy securities in any of our companies. You still have to do your own due diligence. But basically, Mutapa Investment Fund is Zimbabwe's sovereign wealth fund, which was established with a dual mandate to drive economic transformation by safeguarding and running formerly state-owned enterprises in a commercially viable way, as well as to secure long-term prosperity for current and future generations. So to a certain extent, given the portfolio that Mutapa Investment Fund now has, we are the government's investment arm. But the primary mandate is to turn around all these state-owned enterprises that we all know, which are essential to our economy, so that at least they can be managed commercially whether they are making a profit or not, but they are not being a draw on the country's treasury. The fund itself is run by our Chief Executive Officer, Dr. John Manguja, as well as myself, who runs the investment team, and a whole host of other professionals. So it's a professionally run fund. Now, in terms of the portfolio that is under Mutapa, and this is really where perhaps the relevance with this session is. If you are interested in doing some projects in Zimbabwe, you will find that a lot of those projects, there's a Mutapa investment fund company somewhere. So partnering with us is something that you might want to consider. We have effectively got about 5 clusters of companies. Under those companies is the natural resources company cluster, which includes your mining group. So your Kuvimba Mining House, Wange Colliery, Zimbabwe Consolidated Diamond Mines, and quite a few platinum mines. In fact, the fund currently is a holder of the largest lithium deposits in the country, the largest platinum deposits in the country, the largest chrome deposits in the country. So if you're interested in those minerals, you'll probably find your way to Ardo at some point. Then we also have the second cluster, which is what we call energy and trading. Under that, you have Fidelity Gold Refinery, Oryx Holdings, which is involved in value addition of our precious minerals such as gold and diamonds. And then we also include the Petro Trade, as well as ZESA. So if you're interested in doing projects with ZESA, that is 100% owned by Mutapa Investment Fund now. Then we have an infrastructure cluster, and under the infrastructure cluster, you have your National Oil Company of Zimbabwe, NOIC, which is responsible for effectively bringing more than 90% of the fuel that you utilize in this country. Air Zimbabwe, which is currently not really functioning, but part of our job is to turn it around. That's why we are there. The National Railways of Zimbabwe, which also sits in the very same category. And ZUPCO, same category as well. And then we also are involved in the telecommunications sector. So you might need to go a bit further to catch up with me now. Please keep moving. I'm not sure if I have some point or someone is up. Okay, I'm on this slide. Like I said, there's a lot to read. So I will assume you read quite a lot of that. But this is the full portfolio that is under Mutapa Investment Fund. We have about 29 holding companies and about 65 specific functioning companies, and probably a lot more coming. Then also we have the agriculture and industrials cluster, which includes in there your IDCZ, so everything under IDCZ, Chemplex, Willowvale, the Sunway City that some of you might see when you're driving towards Rua, Kotco, CSC, Allied Timbers, Ada Seeds, and Silo Foods. They are all under this cluster. And finally, the financial services and real estate clusters. These are actually 2 clusters that I'm just putting in one, but we manage them as separate clusters, purely because real estate is such an important part of Mutapa that it probably constitutes the largest real estate portfolio in the country outside of the government, the state owning any land. But within this, we have some shareholdings in companies like CBZ, POSB, AFC, as well as Zimri and Homelink, as well as ECGC. So this is really what constitutes the fund. This is a list of the current projects that we have. If you are interested, you can come and talk to us. This is actually, there are a lot more projects, but these are the ones that I managed to put onto this slide. And this constitutes about $16 billion worth of potential projects going within the different clusters. As you can see, it's listed by cluster. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. I also noticed that I said this, but there's nothing there. This. Then after that, if we can move on to the next one, because I want to leave time for people to ask questions, I suppose, when I'm sitting. Like I said, it is a lot. We then have specific projects that my team would not forgive me if I did not mention them, because I asked for an example of 5 projects that we can talk about, and these are the 5 that made it. In the gold sector, which is a huge thing at the moment because of the gold prices being high, but also gold is naturally uncorrelated to the US dollar and is a safe haven. We've got the Shamba Gold project, which, if done, would create the largest open pit project in the country, giving us just under 200 kilograms of gold per month. The next project I have is the Platinum project, which is the Great Dyke Investments project. Thank you. And that's about a $500 million project. This represents probably the world's largest undeveloped platinum resource. And it's in Zimbabwe. It's part of our Great Dyke, for those that know our geography. And it's something that we are looking for partnership on. Platinum is obviously an important mineral, both in terms of in terms of reducing emissions in vehicles, but also in the new economy or the future economy because of its usage in hydrogen power production. Then the next one, which is under the infrastructure cluster, is the National Oil Company of Zimbabwe expansion, which requires about $2 billion of capital. You will notice that I've brought the big guns in terms of the projects, because my assumption is there are a lot of big guns in this room. So this project is a $2 billion project, which is an expansion of the pipeline that I mentioned. I think the most important thing to talk about this particular opportunity is that Zimbabwe is a very unique country in that even though we do not have a coastline, we effectively are the heartbeat of or the heart of the SADC region. So in order for you to access the rest of the SADC countries, you probably have to pass through Zimbabwe. And as a result, we are the best place to put a pipeline that eventually feeds into Zambia, Botswana, and sometimes even parts of Namibia. And as you can see if you can see clearly from the drawing, the blue part is what we already have, which is the Beira to Mavuku corridor. And then from there to Lusaka, it's Zimbabwe. That Harare to Lusaka would still be the shortest way to get fuel into Zambia. Then we also are involved in the fertilizer value chain, where we own resources from the mineral claims themselves, and this is one of them, which we call the Shao All-in-One plant. That's a $1.7 billion project. And the outcome would be the production of phosphate rock, which is then used in fertilizer. We are involved in ammonium nitrate production, as we are the largest shareholder as well at Sebo Chemicals, which is another turnaround project that we are working on. But we are also involved in the distribution of fertilizer in the country. The next slide talks about my favorite company within the fund, National Railways of Zimbabwe, which sometimes is in the news for the wrong reasons, but the right thing we should be talking about is the fact that we need NRZ to function in order for Zimbabwe's economy to function. It's as simple as that. Zimbabwe is an agricultural-based economy. It's a minerals-based economy. Those are bulk commodities, and you don't move them by road as we currently do. We have to have a good rail infrastructure going, so we've got a large expansion. This one is an example of a $1.8 billion project, which connects Lion's Den, where the rail actually currently terminates, if you wanted to go to Zambia. Otherwise, you have to go via Victoria Falls. So this connects that to Zambia. If we do the Lion's Den Kafue project, then you can be guaranteed that anything going down to South Africa from Zambia to DRC will come down only via that route, nowhere else. So this is an example of a great opportunity. Next slide, please. The end. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Simba. I'm enjoying this panel so far already. I mean, you're keeping time, following the rules. I think you've definitely given us an intro. Like you said, some know exactly who Mutapa is. Some are still also learning about the fund. But you know, what we've learned from you is the projects that you're targeting at the moment, the things that are hot on your heels and that you're working on. But one thing I do want to ask you to do is to, while we're here at the ZimEU Forum, is to maybe give us some of the modalities for EU private sector investment and co-financing with Mutapa.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think when I started my presentation, you remember I said that I'm glad that there are no protocols to do. That is exactly how you approach Mutapa. The modalities of doing any business with Mutapa is pick up the phone, call us, come, let us talk. If we like the idea, it's a fund after all. We will do our investment appraisal. We'll show you what we've got. You look at it. If you decide that this is something that you would like to do with us, after negotiations sometimes, and sometimes just, you saying, sort it with negotiations, I'm just going straight in. We then have to present the results to our investment committee, and then that presents the results to the board. And if the answers are yes along the way, it's done. Sure. That's it. The law gives us the mandate to make those decisions without having to go anywhere else outside of Mutapa. All right. And that's very useful for EU businesses, especially because that's ease of doing business. It's very easy to do business with Mutapa, and in fact, we have seen quite a bit of engagement from European countries to do business with Mutapa specifically because of the ease of doing business with us.
Got it. Thank you very much, Simba. So again, any questions towards Simba, just hold on to them until we hear now from our last presentation, then we come to you as the audience. All right, now we hear from ZimBorders. Over to you, Mr. Glynn Cohen. Thank you. He's going to give us a testimonial, right, of a successful Triple P.
Correct. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, Ambassador, and the EU team and EU delegation. We're going to do a presentation, a quick clip that was recently shot by AfriExim Bank, so courtesy of AfriExim, thank you very much. And this will demonstrate something that's already happened. It's working.
It will touch on the life of thousands and thousands of families.
If we do not have people and the institutions that inspire that, this is how we find ourselves lagging behind.
Africa needs to dream big to ensure that you are competitive. You need state-of-the-art infrastructure.
Everyone is coming to learn from what we've done here at the Beit border post.
You know, we're all excited about the modernization project. So what's your view, how it's benefiting the continent?
On an environmental perspective, I think we have benefited a lot. Now, as Zimbabwe, we are able to analyze any hazardous substance or any waste that comes to our country. We need to make sure that whatever is going to other stations and other countries is safe. So it starts here.
Beit is the gateway to South Africa, and most, if not all, Southern African countries trade with South Africa. So whatever challenges in terms of bureaucratic processes happen here, they have got a far-reaching effect. Because if a special consignment is tied down here, the effect is going to be felt as far as Congo. AfriExim Bank saw the logistical relevance of this port of entry, and then everything converged together, and this huge package was brought about.
It was a great opportunity for us to do something that is impactful, something that is transformational. It will touch on the lives of thousands and thousands of families that have been actually depending on trade for a living.
I started coming to Beit as a truck driver since 2003. It used to be hectic. It wasn't really organized. When you come this side, the border wasn't built like this.
Before modernization, the border post consisted of only one terminal. But now the border post has been divided into various terminals dedicated to specific users.
On the eastern side, we have the pedestrian terminal.
right across his bus terminal. We then face the freight section.
Then lastly, we have the iconic building, which is the admin building. It has become the flagship of what was then and what is now. The coming in of this project also addressed social issues like the introduction of the fire station, which the community did not have, and we used to rely on either Musina or Wanda, which is about more than 100 kilometers away from this port.
Before this infrastructure, this building was constructed, we used to occupy 2 offices for fire at our houses. As you can see, we now have a complete complement of modern standard fire station.
We also have a reservoir which is about 11.4 million liters. The town can run for about 6 days with the reservoir. And you also have the staff village, which houses 220 residents. Initially, we didn't have such, and the civil servants used to struggle in terms of accommodation. The site has brought in a lot of poverty reduction for the locals. It has also created jobs, so this has been good.
It's a benchmark project. It became something that everybody was marveling at. To many banks would not have been attractive. But Afrexim Bank tends to see beyond the politics. They tend to see beyond the negativity. They always come up with a win-win scenario at the end of the day. We are currently averaging 885 trucks a day. Our goal is to reach an optimal 1,000.
It's been an eye-opener, it's been a flagship project for Zimbabwe and even the region.
It managed to cut the red tape, it managed to empower the community. These are the sort of projects that we really support.
People are actually marveling at what this project has done, and I believe Africa can tap into this.
You will be surprised that in the next 50 years, Africa will be the championing giant in the world.
Well, thanks again to AfriExim for that. It's a great honor to be with you today. I'm pleased to share insights on the subject that is increasingly vital to sustainable development and economic growth in the region, opportunities in government projects, unlocking value through strategic public-private partnerships. Governments across the world are the largest purchasers and implementers of infrastructure and public services. Their role in shaping national development is unmatched. Yet the scale of investment required to meet the growing demands, as we've heard today, in transport, energy, water, digital infrastructure often exceeds the available public resources, which are further constrained by limitations in execution and management skills, as well as capacity. This is where PPPs play a transformative role. When implemented effectively, PPPs allow governments to tap into private sector capital, technology, management, operational efficiency without compromising public oversight or strategic direction, as seen with this project. It's a powerful combination of public interest guiding private innovation and private sector initiatives, which we've heard a lot about in the last couple of days. In this context, Zimbabwe stands out as a country of rising potential. We are witnessing a growing openness to PPPs, a willingness to collaborate, a policy shift towards modernization. The government commitment to infrastructure investment is clear and aligns strongly with the country's vision in prioritizing infrastructure development to enable economic growth and broader regional integration efforts. These conditions set the stage for meaningful partnerships and sustainable development outcomes. One shining of what can be achieved is what you've seen with this modernization project. This was Zimbabwe's first large-scale PPP in the transport infrastructure and one of the most ambitious of its kind on the continent. The project was conceived, financed, and constructed and is now operated under PPP model, with government playing a proactive and constructive role at every stage. What sets Beit project apart is not only the scale and the undertaking, but the spirit of partnership that defined it. We successfully navigated the challenging crossroad in Zimbabwe. That was a crossroad in 2017. We all know the history, managing complex local dynamics while simultaneously delivering timelines remarkably, all in the midst of the global disruptions caused by COVID-19. This demanded not only strategic agility, but also close coordination across borders and teams, demonstrating our ability to deliver under pressure and adapt in real time. The project has been recognized globally with multiple awards for its innovation, structure, and impact. ByteBridge is now a model PPP for Africa, scalable, replicable, and impactful. Its success has paved the way for similar border and logistics infrastructure projects in Zimbabwe and across the region, with several already in the pipeline. The results speak volumes. The project cost exceeding $300 million. We delivered a fully modernized freight, bus, light vehicle terminals. We implemented state-of-the-art ICT systems, including automated queuing, enhanced surveillance. Thousands of jobs were created during construction and ongoing operations. The government now receives a royalty on every truck crossing the border, and revenue collections by ZIMRA have tripled since the project's completion. Equally important, the modern facilities have drastically reduced smuggling, transit fraud, and corruption by improving operational transparency and control, helping formalize trade activities that were previously part of the informal sector, which is a major step. We're all dealing with this informal problem, and we see that the borders are a major contributor to trying to formalize the economy. But the impact did not end at the border. Non-core but highly valuable public infrastructure was delivered to benefit the wider community. Hundreds of new housing units for government staff, a newly constructed fire station, a 11.4 million litre water reservoir, upgraded sewage systems, and a revamped waste disposal facility were provided. Local authorities have seen an uplift in capacity. The public service delivery has improved measurably for all the residents. At Safaga and ZimBorders, we are proud to have served as the originator, lead developer, and sponsor of this transformative project. We hear about all of the problems and challenges in Zimbabwe, but this project has demonstrated that there are solutions. You have to be creative. Our organization is built on deep infrastructure financing expertise and ability to deliver innovative solutions, a long-term commitment to national development goals. We bring technical excellence, financial strength, and trusted relationships with both private sector partners and international financiers. Our core principle is alignment with government priorities, with community needs, and with long-term vision of sustainable development that enhances treasury collections. We don't just build infrastructure, we build trust, capacity, and enduring value. The ByteBridge project stands today as a benchmark for what PPPs can achieve when vision, governance, and execution come together. It's a powerful testament to the potential of private sector collaboration, especially in an environment where government is increasingly receptive. Regulatory frameworks are evolving, and opportunities and need for the future partnerships are greater than ever. Let us move forward with purpose. This model works, the foundation is laid. Let us harness the momentum of what already has been achieved together, build the next generation of infrastructure through meaningful strategic partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Glynn, for that presentation. How many of us have driven through the new revamped ByteBridge border? Just a show of hands. Not an awful lot. Have things changed in terms of service delivery? Yes? All right. Well, I like that. So it's not just a revamp, it's a whole revamp, right? From the service to the appearance. And that's exactly what I think we want to celebrate here. But my question then would be, could you give us, Glynn, some practical steps or practical lessons that you learned in terms of putting together a complex infrastructure PPP?
Well, it's like running a marathon. but you have to keep with it. As we heard today, these are long-term projects. The lead time is a while. The preparation of the projects and having the right partners and expertise at the table is paramount. Having the relationships with organizations like ZIDA and understanding the need and understanding the solutions is imperative. And as I said, finding solutions, because we're dealing in a very challenging environment. We've gone through a lot of changes. Everyone thinks it's impossible, but it's not impossible. There are solutions, and we wanted to demonstrate with this particular project that if one stays with it and one finds solutions and one is creative, you can deliver a project
thank you.
that we're proud of.
Thank you for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from our three presenters on our panel this afternoon, and this conversation is now open to the floor. We will now take the first round of questions. If you're ready for that, we'll start with Your Excellency, please. Thank you. Jobst, please maybe get a microphone to the ambassador. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jobst van Kirchman, Ambassador of the European Union. Thanks a lot for the presentation. So under Global Gateway, we are looking into connectivity. And under the connectivity, we're looking at corridors. We are currently doing a study how from South Africa we could go through Zimbabwe to Zambia with railways. And so what you just showed is obviously interesting. But then the question is, we are using private sector to implement it. We cannot, because of the arrears, we cannot currently work with sovereign lending with the government. Otherwise, we would do it, and that would be the most straightforward way of doing it. But, is the government actually willing to give entirely up the railway to a private sector, and therefore allowing others to finance that private sector? Because in the current circumstances, the banks cannot finance a private sector when the beneficiary or shareholder is the government. So what is the idea of that? Because as I say, we are very interested in having a global gateway project of that size in Zimbabwe. We have done Kariba Dam, but Kariba Dam was together with Zambia. So it would be fantastic if you could enlighten that point. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Simba, I'll let you take that first question. I think it's direct and a beautiful way to open things up, and then we'll take more questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I thought you would direct that at ZIDA. Because, well, I think, firstly, I should start off with a disclaimer. I don't speak for the government. I speak for Mutapa Investment Fund, which is a sovereign wealth fund. So I can't speak to what the government's policy would be, but I can tell you that the fact that the NRZ was put inside Mutapa, for me, is already a step that the government is willing to work with private sector in order to improve our railway, our rail infrastructure. And part of the opportunities that exist in our rail infrastructure includes open access, which we are working hard to create a platform for open access on NRZ infrastructure. I think what's really important is to understand that NRZ and indeed the government must continue to be heavily involved in building the infrastructure. But in terms of operation on top of the infrastructure, there is a great appetite for private sector members to be involved in that. But to completely privatize NRZ, that's definitely something above my pay grade.
I see you've chosen a safe answer, Simba. I mean, you stood up here and said NRZ is my favorite of them all. So here we were thinking you'd tell us in entirety the simple answer to the question, will you privatize and hand over to a private player?
Like I said, I have to be very careful what I say because obviously, apart from representing Mutapa, I also sit on the board of NRZ. So if I say something, what I say,
don't worry, the cameras are off. No one's watching.
And I should point out that the chairperson of the board of Mutapa is also in the room. So she looked at me as well. As soon as I started
Mamtasa is acting like she's not listening, but she is. All right. No, thank you, Simba. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what we'll do is we'll take, I see 3 hands that have shot up. Very clear. There's 2 ladies in red and a gentleman in the center. We'll take those 3 hands. We'll close that round and we'll try one more after that. So if we could get microphones, please, the lady in pink, the gentleman in the center, and the lady in red in the front. Thank you. Sorry, I think your mic is not on. Could you help her switch it on, please?
Hello, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to understand the relationship between, and the roles between the executive management of the companies within Mutapa Fund, the board of those companies, the board of Mutapa Investment Fund, and where do the decisions really, where does the ball end?
Thank you very much. Yeah, she wants to understand the organogram. Kuti, where does it begin and end? Because we could sit here and pass things on and say, out of my jurisdiction, but where does the buck stop, or where does it start?
Thank you. Before the next one asks a question, this is not a Mutapa session. But I do recognize the interest in it, and maybe Dr. Mutasa should have been sitting here instead.
She's not far. I mean,
and she can answer. I think it would be best if she answers that. I can give
sure.
you.
Please, may you give Amai Mutasa the microphone? The lady right next to you, on your right. Thank you. Yes. Please help her with the mic again. Okay, there we go. It's on now. No, it's not.
Has just articulated the role of Mutapa Investment Fund as a sovereign wealth fund for Zimbabwe. But initially, it is really starting off as a state reform agency, because most of our state enterprises are not in a position to create the wealth that we are mandated to create on behalf of the Zimbabwe people. So, yes, there are boards in the various state entities, and they are also regulated by their own statutes that they have. For example, some might have some acts that regulate them, and others also are subject to the Companies Act. Quite a number of them are subject to the Companies Act. So their governance structure is quite simple. They will have a board of directors. The boards are nominated mostly by Mutapa Investment Fund through the board of directors of Mutapa Investment Fund. And then the boards are mandated with engaging members of management. Obviously, this is a big transition, because you cannot just start and say we are starting from ground zero. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that. So we have inherited working boards, working managements, and as board terms are expiring, we have formulated a way of evaluating the boards that can be reappointed, or perhaps also appointing of new directors. So the main role for Mutapa is appointing at a board level, appointing the boards of the various entities over time. I mean, 4-year tenure is actually the standard. In terms of management day to day, and I think Simba has articulated it very well. There is an excellent team at Mutapa. If you've seen Simba Chinyemba is our Chief Investment Officer, along with the CEO and a whole lot other members of management. They are tasked with the responsibility of tracking performance of these entities and ensuring that performance parameters are met. A lot has been happening behind closed doors and a lot of background work. And like I say, it hasn't been easy to just formulate a working framework, but it is now in place. There are sectors that you've seen being shown there, infrastructure, in other sectors, real estate, financial services, and quite a number of sectors. And each sector under Simba has got an analyst who then is tasked to look after that sector, to look at the capital needs, to look at developmental needs, performance issues, and things like that. So yes, it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all, but it's a process, and that process is ongoing. You're welcome to look at our website as well. I think there's a lot of governance information that is there. And, and like Simba has also said, and maybe Ruveneko, this can be a Mutapa session. I think the whole idea was for us to showcase the investments, and I know that he's just chosen the leading ones, and I'm sure there are a whole lot more that can be looked at. But please visit our website. The governance structure, our board, we've got committees. We've got 4 committees that are running, very functional, quite a number of professionals in our committees. And our board, we meet quarterly, and we are getting all our governance all in a row. And I think things are really working out quite well from where we are seated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Mutasa. Thank you. The lady in red. If we could just, if you don't mind, just saying where you're from when you do stand up and ask your question, just for context. It helps sometimes. Your name and where you're from, which company, etc. Not yet.
To be close. Ah, amazing. Thank you so much. I am Glynn Cohen, the founder and director of Mana Trust. We deal with renewable energy and smart agriculture. And I'd like to apologize, but this question is directed again to the Mutapa Investment Fund. I'll keep it short. What is Mutapa Investment Fund's long-term vision for renewable energy in Zimbabwe, especially with ZESA under your belt? And also, is there a formal... Thank you for that. Is there a formal roadmap or renewable energy strategy aligned with Zimbabwe's climate commitment or SDGs? Thank you.
All right, thanks, Simba. I'm sorry, there's just no break for you today.
It's okay. I'm used to it now, to a certain extent. But also, these are very important questions for the development of our country. So I'm just joking. We do take it with the seriousness that those questions are asked. So Mutapa Investment Fund, our strategy is more from an energy perspective. And we believe that the country's energy needs will be met by a mix of different ways of producing that energy. And at the moment, part of our medium term will be to use non-renewable as well as renewable sources. So do not be surprised if you read in the newspapers and if you see us promoting coal. We have a lot of coal in Zimbabwe, and we are going to continue to use it. But in addition to that, we mustn't forget that Zimbabwe's base production actually came from green energy, and that is the Kariba power station. So it's not like Zimbabwe necessarily is not aware of its role in climate change. I think we've actually always a very good mix of clean energy in this country. In terms of renewable energy, ZESA, which is part of Mutapa, is looking at a lot of renewable projects. I think it's in excess of 600 megawatts of projects that the company is looking at bringing online. Now, if I tell you what their strategy is, it doesn't mean that there is no space for IPPs to also enter the renewable space, because the whole strategy isn't that ZESA should be the only company that produces energy in this country. So if you want ZESA to give you an IPP strategy, it will specifically be aligned towards ZESA producing its own renewable energy. The government of Zimbabwe has a much broader strategy that encourages other players outside of the players within Mutapa Investment Fund to be involved in renewable energy. We expect that in the long run, we will have replaced all fossil fuels with green or renewable energy. But at the moment, our current plan and roadmap is to include non-renewables.
Thank you, Simba. All right, any more questions? Let's get another round. Let's get 2 or 3 hands at once. Okay, we've got one. Okay, that one there standing next to you. Then the gentleman behind you, can you see? And then there's a lady on the far end of the room. So we'll take those 3 next. Thank you very much.
Okay. I'm Engineer Oswald Chakwanda, Managing Director of a company called Cross Connect Technologies. And I've been involved in renewable energy project. I was a co-founder for Great Zimbabwe Hydro. One thing that I would want to encourage Mutapa Investments, I think you have got massive engineering projects, but I don't know how deep is your engineering expertise within your organization, because all the time I see these nice big projects and big ideas. But in terms of our engineering capability locally, I think we are a bit weak. This is the reason why some of the projects either take long or they don't have the right documentation for them to raise capital, for them to move forward. And I think it's good that the board chairperson is here. I've seen a lot of projects in Zimbabwe that have failed. Great Zimbabwe Hydro was a project that was conceived way back, but for over 60 years, they were trying to do a hydropower. I managed to drive the project, but unfortunately at financial close, due to some reasons, I had to exit. But you find that engineers would want to bring these innovations, but sometimes we don't have the capital. Now, Mutapa Investments, you probably have the money, but you don't have the ideas. There are plenty of innovative ideas that engineers can bring. What you need to do is to put out a request for proposals for some of these projects. What you may think is the best way to execute a project may not be the best. I'll give an example. ZimBorders, I went there the first time when I crossed at ZimBorders by bridge. I talked to their manager, I think it's Ngobile. There were a lot of things that I told him, and they actually implemented those things. Because as an engineer, I can see things that ordinarily a finance person or maybe a project manager may not see in terms of ICT solutions that they could implement, and they actually did. And I want to encourage Mutapa to go that route. And one thing that I would want to highlight to His Excellency, Your Excellency, Zimbabwe is a country full of potential. One of the biggest problems that we have had is we have got this debt overhang. That debt overhang, we know there was COVID, and European Union, the American government, they poured in a lot of money to help companies to resuscitate their operations after COVID. I think we need such an approach in Africa for us to move forward. When Africa doesn't go forward, even Europe also moves backwards. So for us to move forward, you probably need to reevaluate some of these loans that were given to companies or organizations that have either failed to perform. But those loans are now holding back the innovation and the new technologies that could be implemented for the betterment of the world. So I think this engagement is very important. I am an engineer. I will tell you, Zimbabwe could probably be producing a lot of electric car batteries or even electric batteries for the entire African continent because we have got the lithium. But because we are so indebted to European banks and American banks, we can't do the innovation, we can't do the development. Zimbabwe can't invest in research and development to utilize the natural resources we have because we are heavily indebted. So these are some of the things that we need to discuss in these platforms and say, you know what, we have the skill. For example, for your own information, one of the top engineers at Google is a Zimbabwean. You go around the world, some top physicists are Zimbabweans. It's pointless for me. I am an engineer. I studied a European qualification. I could have gone to Europe and worked in Europe, but I'm here in Zimbabwe. We want to build our country, but the country is incapacitated because the banks can't finance the projects that we think. I'll tell you one example. I actually...
Engineer,
Okay,
I'm going to give you that last example before I make an example of you.
Yes.
Engineer.
Okay, the last example, yes. Okay, sorry. The last example is, I worked on a project in terms of connectivity. The project was going to connect the whole
now my
of
Mayumbas
Africa.
come.
Thank you. The project was going to connect the whole of Africa with fiber cables. For your own information, Africa has got all fiber cable, but they're just not connected. But for you to get the funding to connect the fiber cables, you can't. Thank you.
Thank you, engineer, for that comment and question and job pitch. I mean, you also were selling yourself there. I mean, are you hiring? Thank you for that. I think there was a lot to take from that, but I'll come back to the panel and just take bits of what he said. I'll also give Ambassador the microphone as well. Please bring a microphone back to Ambassador in the front. But while we wait for that microphone, just to say, he has said a lot, but just to condense maybe one portion of what he said, to say, do you have the expertise for your projects? Because there is that, that's kind of the message I got. Some of the things you said, engineer, I wish you didn't say in the presence of visitors. Okay, but you must, we'll ask you to answer to that, because there's a lot, it was so loaded, but I'll come to the ambassador now first before we come to the panel.
Well, thanks a lot. I agree with you on the debt resolution and arrears clearance process. But His Excellency, the President, has put underway a process to get rid of debt and arrears. So that, I think, we should also acknowledge. And of working, as we heard from the governor, from the Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank, there's a lot of progress. There is a lot of progress, and I was saying I'm flying after this to Abidjan for the arrears clearance process. So yes, that's the door which should be open. I entirely agree, because if I talk for the European Union, the Global Gateway Initiative, which is all about sustainable infrastructure connectivity, where we have 150 billion for Africa, Zimbabwe currently cannot benefit because we cannot give concessional sovereign loans to Zimbabwe because of the arrears. But of course, what you see as well in terms of capital available is linked to it, because banks cannot operate. And it's not only European, it's basically a bit around the world when you see who are the creditors of these arrears clearance processes. It's not Western countries, it's all mixed. And so, yes, it's very important. And yes, I think it's acknowledged that that process should be successful. And we are a partner in that. We really try to support the government to a maximum so that they succeed, because we acknowledge that that is the path forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. I think he's spoken to some of your concerns, right, regarding the lending and, yeah, what the role of the EU there. We have other hands as well. While the mic is in the front, please give to Mutapa. I know Mutapa was poked at as well again in that.
I just wanted to ask a quick one. And congratulations for that Great Zimbabwe Hydro. It's an impressive project. Who did it? Was it done by Zimbabweans or it was done by externals?
Hey,
and you are Zimbabwean. Yes. So I think
he said it was his initiative executed by Zimbabwean companies.
Well done for that, engineer. And you've just answered it. If we need expertise, we will find it. And therefore, I don't think the expertise is an issue. I think what is required is the plan, the willpower to go through the plan. And I think one of the issues that you spoke about is that the energy thing cannot just be a Mutapa thing alone. I think, Simba, you've already referred to the independent power producers. They are doing massive work. Yours is an example, isn't it? So there's lots of those coming up.
Sure.
So I think as a team, we can make it and we can just work together. If you have ideas, Simba and his team will be there to receive your ideas and to contribute to the expertise. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mantasa. Thank you. You can take the microphone to the second hand at the back. Thank you very much. Oh, there's one there already. Then the third hand was across the room, the lady in black. That was our last, from that round. You can go there. Thank you, sir. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Wilson Chimwedzi. I represent an organization called Firefight. Ours is all about fire and challenges that come with fire. But I also want to speak around BOTs, build, own, and transfer, or build, own, operate, and transfer. And that's enshrined in our constitution. And I want to believe, Mr. Cohen, that's probably one of your, with ZimBorders, that was the approach. Coming back to Mutapa, we're not
Here I was thinking there was a question for Glynn.
Yes, I think it's all-encompassing, if you can allow me. Coming back to Mutapa, the leg that's Zambia, Zimbabwe leg, that part, that portion where you want to link up, I mean, I was just thinking at the railway side, BOT, that's an opportunity. And I think in terms of investment, let's look at those things and say, how can we come up with a BOT, taking from the concept that's already been given by ZimBorders. ZimBorders, I think maybe you also speak to what is your next step. I've been at the border. I was thoroughly impressed. I drove with my family going into South Africa. And I think our first trip was hell on earth. But when we went the last time, we were actually shocked because we were actually prepared to sleep at the border. So we managed to pass through without a challenge. So that's something that we must build on as Zimbabwe. So I'm trying to link up these two organizations to say, how can we then move? And how can the EU come in and say, these build, own, and transfer projects, how can we then wrap them up to do bigger things? I think those are opportunities that we can, concept is there, you have a gap, let's push on that one. So that was my comment.
Thank you very much. I think, Glynn, I'll let you take this one, and so that you can speak to that synergies that are possible, as well as even just inspiring how the EU and investors can engage in and co-finance such projects.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for the question. And I'm glad that your user experience was positive. There's a lot of opportunity. You know, we're putting these projects, government's vision for borders alone is to make sure that they control their borders, they control the entry and exit because of the transit fraud. So there are other projects. There are various border projects that are in the pipeline. So that is happening. In terms of how EU can participate, you know, once these projects are going, there's various opportunities from funding directly to equity, as well as expertise, as well as EPC opportunities. Today we heard that there was a German EPC available. So, you know, those are opportunities on how we can marry the two opportunities together. And on a final note, I'd like to see the engineer after the...
I knew it. There's some doors open for you.
As long as we don't give him the microphone.
Thank you very much. And our third question there from the lady.
Hi, my name is Letabo Makaka. I'm a consultant for Wabantu. I think my first question is for ZIDA. I've noticed by the airport we don't have offices there, and we have investors flying in. And what happens is if someone comes on a business visa, they need a point of call where they can actually know who to talk to avoid a lot of people being duped. So I think it's more of a contribution where we should have offices there so that whoever is helping these investors coming in or flying in is then directed to the ZIDA office by the airport. That's number one. Number two, it's for the startups where we need to probably do cohorts under ZIDA where we actually educate the startups because some don't know the compliance requirements, what government needs, because it's a gray area. And also, they're not aware that in policy making, they can actually contribute to the policy. People are actually scared of the government doors, but it's open to everybody. Like with engineer, he could have actually communicated with Mutapa, came up with his proposal, and actually helped both Mr. Cohen, yourself, and ZIDA in cases they can actually assist. The last one is for Mr. Cohen. Congratulations, I've seen the project, you're doing very well, especially on the one across Greenwood Park. That's a very innovative one. But my last question, I think, for ZIDA, what are we doing especially for your locals, the rural women that are doing a lot of businesses, who are working in clusters, but are also contributing to our GDP? That's number one. Then for the informal sector, that is where the money is. If you look at other countries, they're bringing in a lot of economy. But how can we collaborate between the informal, with ZIDA, with Mutapa, and other industries, so that we can actually get the income that we require? Because people do have the income, but it's just a case of trying to see how best we can do it. Like with Zimra, I think we had another seminar where I suggested that if we have, for example, 15 million people contributing $10, that means it's 150 million coming every month. Then that way people don't evade from tax. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Letabo, for your contributions. I think I'll allow ZIDA to come in first there. Sili, that was quite loaded for you. Please, may you respond.
Thank you very much for that inquiry, Notabo. So just like you're thinking, the thinking behind my team this year was that we should be the first entity or agency, besides maybe the Airports Company of Zimbabwe, that anybody who's landing in the country sees. And so presently we're just awaiting approval of the space that we have taken, or we're looking to take up. So you probably will see brand ZIDA. You may not see in person, because one of the things that we are trying to avoid is just always to have an individual sitting there for you. What you may do is get digital connection to ZIDA the moment you walk into the airport, and then hopefully in the future, if we get the space, we might have a person there. So yeah, we're well aware of that fact that we need to be visible when an investor lands, or when anyone lands and wants to understand how to do business in the country. And then just to go towards the issue of the startups, the informal sector, I think this is an issue that almost everyone in this room is well aware of, and I think which the government in different ways is trying to address. And we're not going to be able maybe to actually formalize everything or get everyone on board. But just to highlight the fact that we had a meeting this morning with one of the people in this room. They're coming from Belgium, and they highlighted that their economy is driven by SMEs. But you can see the difference in maybe the way they operate and what we're doing. But one of the things that our CEO challenged us last year was, what product can you come up with as ZIDA that will help SMEs? So as an agency, our role is to facilitate. It is not always just to deliver a product. We work with everyone else around us to deliver on this particular mandate that we have. And our research and business development team has been working on something that we're hoping very soon will be out there in the public. But one way in which we engage with SMEs and local entities is we try and integrate the investors that we have on our register with the local economy. So we encourage them to do business with our locals. And one thing that we're going to try and have very soon on our portal is a register of local service providers. We are not saying that we are giving you business from the investors who are on board, but we are giving you an opportunity to be visible. And that visibility you will then have to utilize to connect with the investors. You also have access to the list of our investors. If you log on right now, you will see each and every single investor who is registered with us on our portal, where they are, what business they're doing, and while you may not get detailed information as to where they come from, but their name is there. So you can actually use your own business intel to kind of figure out how to connect and engage and provide services. The issue of the startups, I think, again, as a facilitator, we are there to assist whoever or which agency is working with them. And I know government quite recently enabled the National Venture Capital Company to start working, and I think Tino Kambanje is the one who's running with that initiative. So that's an office that is open. But one thing that I would also like to highlight when we talk about how we as locals are engaging with the investment, the investors who are in the country, is to say that I don't think anyone in this room has ever actually knocked on a door at any of the agencies sitting at this table and been told not to come in. And that is something that we would like to highlight, that we are open to anyone sitting in this room, local or international. The ZIDA license is not for foreign investors alone. Even a local investor can come in. If you look at our statistics, the third highest number of investors that we license on a quarterly basis is almost always Zimbabwean companies. And those Zimbabwean companies get the same service that we give to an investor. So that is something that I would like to put out. And just to cover Simba as well, to say, when we talk about what Mutapa is doing, if we were to ask ourselves how many people in this room have actually gone to their door and found out what they're doing, and I don't think Simba and his team would close us out. They would actually open their arms and give you as much information as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if I can just add to
Yes,
that actually.
sure.
Because you didn't notice, we didn't have the slide on, but my second slide actually had the phone numbers of the CEO, myself and the deputy CIO. So we actually are not hiding. We are very happy to see you and to talk to you.
Please put that slide up again. All right, I see we've got a couple more hands. We do have to close off our session now. It would be remiss of me not to follow my own time. So we have about 7 minutes left of the session. So we're going to take 3 more hands and then we have to close off, unfortunately. So I'm going to be biased toward those we haven't heard from today. I'm so sorry. So if you have already spoken, I'm probably not going to choose you. So the gentleman in the back. The lady in the middle, right in front of me, and the hand, there's one. Yes, okay, that's fine.
Mutapa.
Mutapa.
I listened to a lot of advice that was coming, particularly from that gentleman who talked about BOTs. For railways, please consider that. We are tired of listening and being assured of things to happen. That's a pie in the sky. Please consider BOTs. We realized what happened from Plumtree to Mutare. That road was out as quickly as possible. We know what is happening in Beit Bridge. And although it's very expensive, Mr. Cohen, for a transporter, we run across that bridge, your prices go up every day. But we appreciate the service. To ZIDA, please, when an investor has come through, follow and see what they are doing. Some are destroying the ecosystem in our environment, leaving gullies and everything. And I'm talking about this because the EU is here. They will understand what we own about. There are gullies out there that have been left by some of our investors. Let's protect our ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think those were more comments rather than questions, right? So notes to take. The lady with her hand in the back in the brown, correct.
Good afternoon. I was listening to the back and forth between the engineer and the chairperson of Mutapa, and it reminded me of a conversation that we had very informally with some professionals, some of which are based locally, some are external. What we decided at that time was what Zimbabwe needs is a platform called Humanai, where the various experts, whether they are local or external, find a platform where they can drink and smoke and let their ideas flow like they do in the pub, and hold it pretty much in the same manner that you've held this business forum. A general session on the first day, then a few days of the various disciplines breaking out on their own. And voumana vakadaro kana vanoputa mbanje dzavo vachiputa vanonwa vachinwa. But what I found is you get the best nuggets of ideas from people when they're in a free atmosphere. And sometimes I listen to Zimbabweans speak informally, and I wish I had pen and paper. So what we need is perhaps for government and EU, like they did this time around, to facilitate Humanai, fund it, create it, give these, there are people that are based abroad. They've got cushy jobs that pays them money that this country can never pay them. But they'd love an opportunity to come and show off their skills and tell us what they've learned out there and go back to their cushy jobs. But we can use those ideas. After all, most of them were educated at the UZ with loans and grants which they haven't even paid back. So we should be at least be able to benefit from the knowledge that they've gained out there where we send them. So my request is for between ZIDA or government in general and whoever, well-meaning partners, EU being the best one, being the one present today, to create that platform for us where we talk. And all we need is for government and EU to provide those people that will capture those ideas. Because what I've learned in life is the person that comes up with the idea is not always the person to implement it, and is not always best equipped to capture it in writing so that it can be passed on for processing. So we need a platform where those ideas are generated, and then we need a level where they are captured, and we need a level where they are handed, and they are doers who don't think. You just tell them, this is what we want done, and they'll do it perfectly. So those three levels need to be established, and established at a level that is independent from government and independent from external influence of foreign governments. Let's give Zimbabweans a platform where they know what to do with this country.
Thank you for your refreshing insights. I mean, short of having happy hour in the morning, so that we can all be airy during the afternoon. But thank you for those very, very refreshing thoughts. I think that it's a very valuable idea, and I hope that you can take it into consideration. Obviously, also protecting people's ideas. We need to have IP in there as well, because you can't just have your ideas generated and given to the doers so they can now take all the glory, isn't it? But definitely, Simba, you want to add on?
I think it's a very important point she raises about Zimbabweans, both externally and local, coming together to help develop their country. And Mutapa actually is very open to ideas. If you have ideas, please come and talk to us. We're open to them. The fund itself, in terms of the investment team, constitutes of 60% of people that have worked outside the country. I have a 25-year working career, and only 4 of those are in Zimbabwe. So we actually are very open to ideas from outside and inside the country.
Thank you very much. Then we had a final hand somewhere on the left. Yes. Please go ahead. Another engineer. Uh-oh.
Okay, my question is, actually the chairman of the National Railways did not answer the question from the ambassador about the privatization of the railways, because I have some EU partners who want to invest in the railways, but they want a private rail. So our questions to government or the chairman of National Railways, can we have a private railway parallel to yours?
Wow, that is cheeky. Hey, wow. Simba, I mean, he sits on the board, so he can help the chairman answer in absentia. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you, engineer. Simba, please go ahead. Thank you, sir. Please go ahead,
I answered
Simba.
it very well, but thank you for highlighting my shortcomings in communication. What I would say, and I will repeat, is that the National Railways Company of Zimbabwe is mandated to create the rail infrastructure in our country. the government has not yet come up with a policy for a parallel rail company. However, on top of that infrastructure, and someone also mentioned BOTs, we actually have BOTs that are working on the rail infrastructure itself. The BBR is a BOT partnership with a private player. So we do allow private players to then come and work on the infrastructure and also actually create their own lines. And BOT, by the way, is not the only way to do something. There are various ways that you can partner with NRZ. And I would encourage you to either go to NRZ and speak to management about your ideas in terms of what you want to do, or come to Mutapa and we will happily speak to you.
Thank you very much. Engineer, what I will say is that in life, if there are no rules yet or policies about something, just do it. Then when it's done, you say, oh, we didn't know. Okay? It's better that. We've just got one final hand that I must indulge because I'm keen to hear what you have to say.
I was not done yet.
Well, engineer, unfortunately, we don't have the time. Unfortunately, I really am going to have to stop you there.
That's the last question to the EU, to the ambassador.
Okay, the ambassador will then come and speak to you, or you can speak to him after the session. I can't, because I have to indulge one more hand there in the middle, and then we have to close this session. I'm over time. Sorry, engineer.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having the possibility to speak. I wanted to point or also ask the questions about the railway. The first is the...
Sorry, sir, where are you from?
Okay, I just wanted to go directly to the point.
I see that.
Okay, so my name is Marek Zila. I'm from Czech Republic, and I'm here in Zimbabwe on a vacation, but it's a little bit twisted into a business trip.
Clever man, thank you.
I was just, this event caught my attention. It's very well organized, I think, and it's great to see that there is an interest of European Union in Zimbabwe, because I think here is a big potential, and it would be a pity, I think, for European Union to miss this train and leave it for other passengers, I would say, metaphorically. Yes. Yes, so I'm very sorry because I was not able to be during this presentation, but I understood that here is somebody from the railway, and I'm very interested in the railways, because one of my first works was in Království železnic in Czech Republic. It's the second largest museum of railways in the world, if I'm not wrong. The biggest one is in Hamburg, if I'm not wrong, and remember everything after the 15 years ride. Anyway, what I'm interested is in knowing how the South Africa company Grindrod, I think, what's the model of cooperation with them, and what is the suggested business cooperation model with these private entities who would like to participate in the development of the railways here. If it is, what kind of optimal scenario for the cooperation is, because I am also connected with companies from Czech Republic and Europe working in the railways who are interested in knowing more information. I received some let's say, overview of the project, but it would be great also to maybe navigate with who it's the best to discuss these railways, because in my opinion, railway is a backbone of economy, and we can talk here about minerals, we can talk here about I don't know what, solar energy, about construction, real estate, whatever. But yeah, we need some good infrastructure for that. And yeah, like the history said it quite nicely. I think, you know, when the railway was working, I think the Zimbabwe was quite prospering. So it would be an honor to help with that. And yeah, thank you again for having this possibility to speak.
Thank you very much. All right, Simba.
I would encourage you to, as part of your holiday, to actually
What did he say?
I hope you went to Victoria Falls, which, by the way, for those that don't know, was actually started off as a town managed by the railways of Zimbabwe. So it's actually, so rail is very important to our country. And I would encourage you that if you have some ideas and you want to have a discussion on that, please come and see us. We are very much open. In terms of how it's actually functioning with Grindrod, I can't give too much information because that is a private contract, but I can tell you that overall, there is a concession for them to operate the Bulawayo Beit bridge line, and there is a joint venture with NRZ, but it is privately operated. They actually make fees from moving goods on that line and then pay a fee to NRZ. Obviously, I can't give the exact details, but it's as simple as that. And it was over, I think, a 25-year to 30-year concession, which is actually, if you're interested, coming to an end in 3 years' time.
Thank you. Thank you, Simba. I'll take that as your parting shot. Silly, before you stand up, your parting shot, I'm going to ask you to be biased in what you say toward inspiring investors.
Every time I sit in a chair and I talk about investing in Zimbabwe, I get asked what makes us a unique country. And I want the people in this room who will be speaking to our EU partners who've come in, to our investors who've come in, to take a look at the ideas that are sitting in this room. The very ideas that are asking Mutapa and ZIDA, what is going on? Utilize that local capacity. We have a lot of potential that just needs that nudge, which is financial, maybe technical, technology of any sort that may be coming in. And the very people sitting in this room, once you get the project outline right, once you get the feasibility, once you get all the financials in a row, you will be able to deliver very good projects. I can confirm, and this is my parting shot, that yesterday, one of the investors that we work with, we put their prospectus into the EU Forum prospectus. They got a financier yesterday. Wow. From this very pitch. So, and this is not small. We're talking of $7 million for a renewable energy project. Wow. Wow. So we are here, and we will facilitate, and we will do our level best to connect the investor with the local players. Thank you, Rubeneko.
Thank you, Silly. Now, Glynn, you are based in Monaco as a Zimbabwean. I'm sure there are many questions you get asked. What is the most common FAQ about investing in Zimbabwe, and how do you answer it?
Well, obviously, it's about the risk and the history. Sure. And my answer is, we've done it. There are solutions, as alluded here. The biggest asset Zimbabwe's got, besides the resource and everything, is human capital. The knowledge, the various solutions that Zimbabweans can find for Zimbabwe. So I think that's the big take-home, is that Zimbabwe has the human capital and the skills.
Love it. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a round of applause for us, this panel. Thank you very much to our panelists, Silly, Simba, and Glynn. A pleasure. Thank you so much. All right, that brings us to the end of that. Now, we are moving on to our next segment now, and that one brings us probably to our final segment of the afternoon, and this segment is going to be moderated by Mr. Thomas Zondo Sakala, and the title of it is Transport and Logistics. Please put your hands together this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Thomas Zondo Sakala. Where is Thomas? Where is he? He's here. While we're there on that break, where is does anyone, have we established whose cell phone I have? Not yet. Okay, no worries. Mr. Sakala, how are you? I'm very well, thanks, and yourself?
And in today's headline, we're proud to announce the first ever EU-Zimbabwe Business Forum, themed Unlocking Sustainable Trade and Investment under the Global Gateway.